Friday afternoon. So to get us started, Janice is not here. So Sam, do you have a backup song?
Well,
Just pulled up.
yeah. Well, you want to wait?
Let's go ahead and do something.
Do the flag.
Yeah, do the pledge.
Do the flag.
Let's move into the pledge with Jeff Newman. Thank you.
I please press the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Gordon?
Yes, please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the gift of life. Thank you for the gift of salvation that your Son, Jesus Christ, was sent to this earth and died for our sins forever and ever. Please, dear God, take care of all the people that are suffering from the terrible hurricane forces that have hit the country at this time. Please be with the military forces that are serving for us all over the world. Please bless the police, first responders, and the firemen, and all those that serve us that we are aware of. Please help us to understand that our purpose on this earth is to try to make someone's difference every day, that we can make their life better. In Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Gordon. May be seated.
Are we doing the song and dance?
Martin,
Or the song?
Martin, you want to introduce our visitors and guests first? We'll do the introduction and let her get her coat off.
Let her get a coat on.
Yes, sir. We have some guests with us. Joe Pace.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Tracy Simmons is second time joining us. So fortunately for me, Bruce was nice enough to host her last time. And so Tracy works with me at Regions Bank, and I work with her.
I'm a trust officer at Regions Bank, and I was here 2 weeks ago. My father was really passionate about Rotary. He was a member of the Paducah, Kentucky and Lexington, Kentucky Rotary Clubs. And I actually heard you talk a little bit about, if you were here 2 weeks ago, you heard me talk a little bit about going to Europe for a 6-month program to West Berlin and East Berlin. And something else that I thought was interesting that my dad and my mother actually really loved about Rotary. They hosted a lot of families that came in from foreign countries that Rotary was asked to host. And they really enjoyed the culture and just fellowship with different people from different countries. And so they really appreciated it. And we as kids appreciated it as well. And there was one year, Berea College had reached out to Rotary in Paducah and found out that they had a student from the Congo who didn't have anywhere to go in the summer and didn't have any money to rent a place in the summer. So my family in Lexington, he was in Lexington at that point, hosted him for the summer. And in the Congo, this gentleman cut hair for a living. And so he cut my father's hair a couple of times, which was interesting. And then my dad taught him how to drive and how to drive a tractor and do a lot of different things around his little farm he had. And that gentleman ended up going to Cambridge after he went to Berea College, studying like world politics and everything. And then he finally went back to Africa and was involved in peacekeeping in Africa. So that was very interesting. Little loop around the world that gentleman did. He was a really nice guy. All for Rotary.
Welcome, Tracy.
Bruce.
April McMillan, no longer be a guest after the day. We're not considering she is Director of Support Services for Boy Scouts of America. Welcome to get it. Martin. We've been looking at some slides going across the screen here of Rilo and Topgolf. And Jim, you want to fill us in real quick on the great experience you and Lorna had on this past Saturday?
We took 5 kids down, 3 from Bearden and 2 from West High School, and they were excellent representatives of our Rotary Club. There were about 150 kids there from our entire district. They did all types of team building and group functioning. They had zip lines, wall climbing, large swings out over the lake, and just a lot of things that they had. One of our individuals was voted the leader of his team. And actually, Ron, our district governor, was there and presented him with the coin that showed how wonderful he did. It was a great time. Lorna and I both went as chaperones, and so it's a wonderful addition to our Rotary to have those young kids. It gives us security knowing that there's some young kids coming up that really have it on the ball. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Lorna, for doing that. And in the future, if you want to get involved or see what's going on with the youth programs, join Jim at some of the Interact Club meetings, and it'll restore your faith in some of the things our young people are involved in what they're doing. Some great young people, and we're glad we can be a part of that. Jeff, update on how to get your donuts.
Sheet going around, if we can keep that moving. Our goal was 100, and we're probably halfway there, so we still got some work to do. So appreciate those that have done it. Most people are donating them, but you can pick them up. So either way.
Great way to multiply your dollars for Polio Plus. Next Friday is the deadline. The 4th, October 4th, is the last day to order. So get your order in today. You can do it through Jeff, or Rosa usually has a sign-up sheet over at the front desk. Janice, report on mobile meals. Were you out swimming around the block today, or?
Yes. So mobile meals delivery, umbrellas, rain and wind don't go together very well. So it took a little extra time today, but if you'd like to be involved in mobile meals, just get in touch with me. And if I can make a couple more announcements, yes, please. If you don't want to buy the donuts, you can also donate money. And so if you want to go ahead and say you wanted to buy 2 boxes, but you're not really going to buy 2 boxes, you want to give $50, you can do that too. So keep that in mind. And that way you stay trim and slim, or you can donate those donuts to somebody else. The next thing is I had in my car, which I was afraid to bring in for fear they would all turn into a big blob of printing ink. A week from today, it's Scruffy City Orchestra's concert at the Cathedral over on North Shore, Sacred Heart Cathedral. We have 3 wonderful solo performers who are going to play with us. We have a cellist out of Northwestern and Indiana University who is going to be our guest and play a cello suite with the symphony, which is just gorgeous. We have an operatic singer from local Noel Hard, who is going to sing with us. And then the third thing that we have is a composer in town who has written a piece called, oh gosh, I forgot the name, Journey to the Peaceful Side of Something, I think. And so those are going to be 3 things that will be highlighted. Tickets are free, but you do have to have a ticket to get in the cathedral. Seats 1,100, and we usually have about 1,100 people there. So just go online to Sacred Heart or Eventbrite and get your ticket. And also, do you have your president's pen?
I do.
Do you have a president's pen?
I do, but not always.
Well, so we have another one for you.
Okay.
So I have a president's pen.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
Good reminder on the donuts that these points do count toward the Paul Harris points, and so Jeff can order donuts, make the order next week on strict donations and the number of donuts to order. So he has the ability to do that when he turns in the club's order. Time for Rosa. The Rosa Minute coming up. She's going to make this fun, I think.
Well, I hope so.
Okay.
Yes, these are shot
I was
glasses.
wondering about that.
Now, you can use them for lots of things, not just for tequila, but your Geritol, your Metamucil. But the reason I'm bringing this up is, the Rotary came up with diversity, equity, and code of conduct, which is basically sort of a combination of HR principles. But the one I'm focusing on is celebrate diversity, as you might guess. So it's celebrate a variety of cultural events and religious observances, acknowledge and celebrate significant dates relevant to diversity, avoid stereotyping and mocking any specific group, which I know we don't do, acknowledge and celebrate different genders. And September the 15th to October the 15th is Hispanic National Month, Heritage Month. And this was started by our President Lyndon Johnson in 1968. And it was only 1 week when it was celebrated then. But then President Ronald Reagan in 1988 decided to make it a 30-day period, starting September the 15th all the way through October the 15th. It was enacted into law in August of 1988. So, in honor of Hispanic National Month, I prefer Latino, but I'll explain that some other time. So, I know all of you like football. So, my question is, I have 3, and so don't shout it out, raise your hand. So, who was the first Latino quarterback in the NFL? Oh, Jesus, nobody knows. He was also the first Latino coach. And he won a Super Bowl. Ay, madre mia. Yes, what did you, huh? No.
Jack Del Rio.
Who?
Jack Del Rio.
No.
QB though.
Everyone gives up?
Tom Flores.
Tom Flores. All right. So which one of these would you like? And these are all made in Mexico, made in China, of course. But yeah. This one? All right. Well,
That blue one's a nice one. I work just like it.
oh, do you? Okay. The next one is, hopefully you guys will get this one. He is the first Latino quarterback to win a Super Bowl.
That's Jim Plunkett.
No. But he was coached by Tom Flores. He played for the Raiders.
His initials are.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad I'm educating you guys.
I did a book report on Jim Plunkett when I was in the 4th grade.
What is it?
Jim Plunkett.
That is correct.
Okay.
Tom
Oh, you looked it up?
No, I knew that. You said no earlier. I did
Which
a
one
book
do you
report
want?
on it.
You did? Well, good. All right.
Back when I was in 4th grade.
Since you guys are so good with the quarterbacks, ay, madre mia. We'll go to a linebacker this time. Who is considered the greatest offensive lineman in NFL history? And he played, to help you guys out, he played for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Munoz.
Anthony Munoz.
His son played at Tennessee.
Here you go. So, viva la raza. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Rosa.
He's older than I thought. Does he have a son?
We have one Rotary anniversary to celebrate today. Jeff Newman has 1 year with the Rotary Club of Bearden on September 29th. How many years altogether do you have from Wilmington?
27.
27? So, total 27 years. Thank you, Jim.
Bruce, I have one more announcement. I forgot. I know many of you, Jim isn't here, let's be honest, but the Greek Festival is going on this weekend. So that's being held tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. So that's another cultural event that it would be great to go to. The food's delicious.
And I think every other year it rains, I believe so.
Yes, it seems like it.
So, no Pine Gap reading today.
Oh, yes.
One last thing before we go into a member induction, update on ball board, Jim, anything to report, our winners from last week?
No game this weekend, so I emailed out, but last week, 4 nines, and Todd Wolf each won 2 tickets to the Florida game.
I donated mine to the Emerald Youth
Oh, good.
to allow
All right,
two of
good.
those underprivileged or whatever they are to be able to go. They need to go.
Now I'll invite Dick Hinton to come up.
Well, hello, folks. Since I don't know you're Rotarian anymore, you probably figured out why I'm standing here. Why am I standing here? We have a new member to bring in. That's why. So let me pull out my script and let me start on this. Fellow Rotarians, it's my privilege and pleasure today to welcome into membership April McMillan, right back there, who was proposed by Bruce Van Cleve. Proposal has been reviewed in accordance with the Constitution and bylaws of our club. April, come up here along with Bruce. April, we're proceeding now to admit you into membership in the Rotary Club of Bearden and the Fellowship of Rotary throughout the world. It's an organization for more than 110 years with more than 1.2 million members in 35,000 plus clubs around the world. You've learned from your visits that the idea of Rotary is service. Our principal motto is service above self, and the object of this club and all Rotary clubs is to encourage and foster this ideal as a basis of worthy enterprise. You're to share in this effort. You've been approved for membership in this club because we believe you to be a worthy representative of your vocation, interested in the ideals of Rotary, and willing to do your share in translating these ideals into tangible realities. You've agreed to accept the obligations attached to your membership in the club and to obey the club's constitution and bylaws. Now, I have the pleasure of asking Bruce to pin the Rotary emblem on April. This is often an awkward moment, so this is why I fill in.
Just to neckerchiefs and hanging dangles.
To get your mind off the awkward moment. The first Rotary pin were wagon wheels, but in 1923 it was changed to a gear wheel with 24 cogs and 6 spokes. A group of engineers advised it was mechanically unsound, wouldn't work without a keyway in the center to attach it to a power shaft. Keyway was added. You are now a part of the kingpin that attaches to the keyway to keep the gear turning. So, welcome to the Rotary Club of Bearden. Fellow Rotarians, I'm happy to present to you April McMillan as your newest member. April, please share with the club why you decided to join this club.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, thank you all. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be a new member, I guess the newest member of your club, our club now. I felt like this was a great opportunity for me to get more involved in this community. I've always been very involved in mission-based or values-based organizations, particularly those that give back to our community. I've certainly been the beneficiary of people giving me a hand up, and it's I can never give enough back. So I'm pleased, and particularly this club with the Pond Gap reading, that's close to my heart. So I'm very excited about it. Thank you all very much.
April, the other honor that you have, having joined our club, we'd like for you to lead the club in the 4-way test at the end of our meeting. So this will give you a little while to prepare. It's right there.
Thank you, Dick, and welcome, April. So, Dave Lou will introduce our guest.
Little fun fact I've learned about the Boy Scouts and the Friday the 13th, we had that a couple weeks ago. As Camp Crystal Lake from the original Friday the 13th is a Boy Scout camp, I learned the other day. It's still operating, and they give tours, which would be really weird to have a Boy Scout camp and these crazy people going around and looking at where people were murdered, but that's a whole other story. Our speaker today is Jim Ruxlow. He is a charter member of the Chattanooga Breakfast Club and served as a club president in 2003 and 2004. He has served in many capacities in his club and in our district and has served as a Rural Community Service Chair, Planning Chair, Assistant Governor, Foundation Chair, and now as District Grants Chair, where he's responsible for our district's grant process. He has served as District Governor from 2018 to 2019. He has spoken to us before, so always a good speaker. He was an engineer for Invista, a global manufacturer of chemicals, polymers, and fibers. He's visited 50 countries, mostly on business. He has been married for 47 years to his wife Rita, who loves singing as much as he loves Rotary. In his spare time, he enjoys winemaking, swimming, sailing, opera, and travel. Please join me in welcoming Jim.
I have a little job to do first. Let me go see if I can get all of my ballroom dancing. It was amazing. how it went away. Anyway, it's great to be here. And as Bruce said, I was here a couple of years ago and talked to you about peace. And lo and behold, the great Rotary Club of Bearden has become a Peace Builder Club. How many of you know that you're now a Peace Builder Club? Okay, most of you. How many of you are on the Peace Builder Committee?
And Lorna.
And willing to admit it? Okay. And how many of you don't really care about peace? Okay, that's good. That's good. Because so I'm going to talk to you about peace, and much more than just about all the different peace programs and things like that. I'm going to talk about peace building and actually how a club can do it. Can you believe it? Well, let's see if I can make this thing go. Okay, so what is peace? And some of these slides you will remember. I'm sure all of you remember my presentation from 2 years ago. If you're like me, I can't remember who spoke last week, but still, you'll remember most of this stuff. There are two kinds of peace: positive peace and negative peace. Have you heard that? Anybody remember? Okay, so negative peace is what you have when you stop the violence. If you have violence and fear of violence, and you take the two sides and you bang their heads together enough times so that they stop fighting, then you have what's called a negative peace. And you call it a negative peace because you didn't fix the things that caused the darn war in the first place. And so positive peace is about fixing that stuff. It's about the attitudes and institutions that build peace as opposed to just stopping peace. And so let's talk a little bit more about those and why it's interesting to do this kind of stuff. Let's start with positive peace. So you've seen this before, because 2 years ago I showed this same chart. This is the 29 Peace Index, Positive Peace Index, and it does get updated every year, but it doesn't change in a macro scale. And if you look at the U.S. is one of the strongest countries in the world for positive peace. They're that dark blue, and so we're in a league with Canada, Western Europe, Australia, Japan. Those are the countries that are in the top tier on positive peace. And so that means that we have the attitudes and institutions and structures that we need to be really peaceful. Isn't that great? That's great. Okay, let's look at the next chart. This is kind of hard hitting, so be ready. Here we are, and this is the Global Peace Index, and this is the view of negative peace. Just how peaceful are you is the question. And so we are in the fourth color, that kind of light orange color. We're below average in the world on peacefulness, our country. How do you like that? We've got the potential to be in the top tier, and we're below average. How does that happen? Well, the two things in this index, all of this stuff is statistical. It's all based on global surveys that come out of the World Bank and the UN and places like that. And some of them are actually sponsored, these surveys, by the Institute for Economics and Peace to get a full global view. They spend a lot of money on all this data. But the reason, the two factors that drive the US down are armaments. We make a very large part of the world's armaments. And if people are fighting in Gaza or in Ukraine or in Sudan, you can be darn sure there's a lot of US weapons there on the battlefield. So we get marked down for that. And the other thing is we incarcerate more of our population than almost anybody else in the world. And why do we do that? I guess because we can. I think in our general makeup, we're a little impatient. We want to keep moving. We want to do things quickly and that sort of thing. So we throw people in jail when they don't do the right thing. And we do know, if you think about it, if you think about our attitudes and institutions, we know how to have our prisons be correctional institutions. There's maybe less than 5% of our prisons actually have a serious correctional program. And those prisons will have about a 5% recidivism rate. The percentage of their inmates who will go back into prisons within 5 years or something like that. Only about 5%, where the national average is about 65%. It's a big difference. So we know how to do this, and yet we don't do it. Why is that?
Money.
Money, maybe. Attitudes. Some people think punishment is really what it ought to be. And that's a negative peace kind of feeling, right? And so if we have this attitude of doing the right thing, we don't always do the right thing because we don't always have the same attitude. And maybe we need to talk about it more. And maybe that's where your Rotary Club comes in. We need to talk about this kind of stuff in order to really figure out what the right approach is. And so if you think about those things, I want to tell you that I think Rotary is in a similar position to the United States, where we have the knowledge, we have the attitudes and the institutions and the structures that we need to have, but yet we don't always do the right thing. And you'll see that in a lot of policies we have and things like that. Sometimes they're overly punitive. Because if you look at how we're governed, we got people from all over the world and they come from different cultures. Some of them come to our board of directors and they come from countries that are very authoritarian. And so an authoritarian country says, well, if we're going to do something about A, B, or C, we're going to do it. Just like that. And so when we compromise, we end up sometimes with something that isn't as noble as we would like to be. I didn't like that. So what can we do about that? And that's why I want to talk to you about how a club can do it. And if a club has a peace builder, if you're a peace builder club and you have a peace committee, one of the first things you want to do is look at peace inside your club. Now you may think you're really peaceful, but a lot of clubs think they're really peaceful, and until something happens. And we know that these things happen, right? And so I'm not going to talk about conflict resolution. That's something else. I'll be glad to talk about that sometime. But I want to talk about how you build peace just in general. Okay. And you're going to tell me when I run out of time because I haven't paid attention. Anyway, okay, so how do we make positive peace? I hope I've got everybody's attention. Okay, so this says, if you can read the fine print, positive peace, the attitudes, institutions, and structures that, when strengthened, make a more peaceful society. So what I highlighted there is when strengthened. So the idea is to find those attitudes and those structures and strengthen them. And if you can do that, then you will be building peace, whether it's in your club or where you do projects or anything like that. Okay, so what do you mean better attitudes? This is probably maybe the most significant thing about changing our behavior is that you have to listen. And those of us who are impatient, those of us who think they know the answer, those of us who are inclined to force a solution, we're doing the wrong thing. What we need to do is listen more, listen a whole lot more. And when we listen, realize that you can't really listen to people if you're in a room full of people. If you and I, Wayne, if we're having a disagreement and we're arguing a little bit, and I say, why do you feel that way? What do you really want to happen? Your response is as much for the rest of the room as it is for me. And it may be even more so if you got a bunch of your friends at the table, you're more concerned about what they think about what you say than whether it's really what you want to say to me. And if I want to really understand what you think about whatever it is we're talking about, I need to talk to you one-on-one. And that's a really important parameter in all of this stuff, is to getting down to the personal level. Because if I ask you for your opinion, what I'm really listening for is the feelings that are behind it. That's where you actually understand. When people talk to you and they reveal their feelings, it's not always direct, but sometimes they might be saying something and they really don't have a good reason. And they might realize, because you asked them, that really there isn't a good reason why they say what they say. And some people will say, well, yes, I said that about whatever it was about that politician or that immigration law or something like that, but really I don't know that much about it. In fact, I say it because my neighbors say it. You know, I'm just kind of getting along with everybody, and that's okay. That's a perfectly reasonable way to develop a feeling. And people are entitled to their feelings. They are absolutely entitled to their feelings. And so trying to find out what they are, every once in a while you're going to find out that feeling is something that I heard from my grandmother. And it's really deep. And those things you have to really appreciate. You have to respect that even if it might not match your view of the truth, it is somebody's real truth. And those things are right below the surface in all of us. You know, if you think about what people are thinking on the surface, you get a kind of this is how our society works. But if you dip down underneath it, you can say this is what our society could turn into, just like that. If people are reacting on that level, and they will do it if conditions change. So you need to understand it, and sometimes that's why the arguments come out. That's why you end up in a battle in your club, and it doesn't really have anything even to do with the little thing that you're talking about. It's something that's deep in somebody. So there's a lot to be learned there. So ask for opinions and listen for feelings, and acknowledge what you hear, and help other people develop solutions. It's never going to be a one-person solution if you're going to work on peace. And you hear all kinds of people talking whether it's somebody talking about the war in the Mideast or Sudan or something like that. All we got to do is do this, and I'll guarantee you that ain't going to happen. Okay. Anyway. It's eventually going to be worked out by the people who are in the middle of it, and all of them together. Okay, so better institutions and structures. I want you all to be able to make Rotary more peaceful. More peaceful in your club, more peaceful in the district. And I'm not saying everybody ought to sign up for that, but be aware that that's something that we all need to do. And when you get an opportunity, remember to listen. And then support the peace systems we have. We have a lot of them in Rotary. I could talk for an hour just about things like these, the Peace Fellows and the IEP Rotary Partnership, which is where all these statistics came from. The Rotary Action Group for Peace that has all the Peace Builder clubs in it. The Peace Builder clubs in districts themselves. There's maybe 400 Peace Builder clubs around the world. And all of them trying to figure out what they're going to do next. And then the last thing is you can apply positive peace to everything. And that's what I want to show you how to do. Anybody want to learn? Okay, now some of you want to learn, some of you want to listen. And that's okay. It really is. Okay. So, if you want to address a project, you have to start with a project and identify your area of focus and goals. And that sounds like global grant stuff, and I'm a global grants guy. So, but no, any project, no matter where it is, you can think about what's the area of focus. What is it you're working in? And it doesn't absolutely, if you got a local project like reading at Pond Gap Elementary, right? That's one of your projects, and that actually does. Basic education and literacy is one of our 7 focus areas. So you know where it is. But then about the goals, what is it you're really trying to accomplish? How many of you have been to Pond Gap to read? Almost everybody. That's great. And so when you go there, what's your objective? Have you thought about what's your overall objective? What's the goal?
I think you give those kids some love.
Okay, that's pretty good. Maybe love and hope and that kind of stuff. And maybe you want to help get them to reading level, because if they get to reading level, they're more likely to be successful. And maybe you want to show them a little bit of what success looks like. There are people who are not that much different from them, who can talk to them and come to talk to them and actually do have success, and they can talk about that. But I'm not sure what it is, but figuring out what your goals are so that you can say, are we really moving the needle relative to our goals? That's a really valuable thing to do. So that if you say, okay, we talked about it and we decided our goals are delivering some love to the students and trying to get them on reading level, then you could maybe after a year evaluate how much of that you did. Not hard, but you could do that. Then the next thing is define the community. If you're at Pond Gap Elementary, is it the school? Is it the first grade? Is that, if that's where you're reading? What is the community that you're talking about? It's not all of Knoxville. It's not. It might be bigger than the school. You might want to include the home life of these kids or something like that. But something more focused is probably better. Like saying the school itself. If everything there is your community, then that's a place to start. And then you do an assessment. And the normal community assessment is what are their needs and what are their strengths. And so you talk about those things, and you have to talk with them about that. Whether you're talking with the kids, with the teachers, with the administration, you get some idea of needs and assessments. It doesn't take long to do that. You could do that in a half an hour sometime with a couple of people sitting down with the principal maybe, or something like that. And then you apply the 8 pillars of positive peace. Everybody remember the 8 pillars? I'm going to show you them in just a second. Okay, so we got 8 pillars, and they apply to every project. And because we said, let me go back a second. You remember what we said back here? Yeah, we want to strengthen the attitudes, institutions, and structures in order to advance peace. Okay, and so the attitudes and institutions and structures, they're all represented in, first we talked about the area of focus, okay, basic education and literature. And here's the 8 pillars. Can you read that? I can't make it much bigger, but I'll help you. So you got 8 pillars, and the idea is you don't necessarily want to solve this whole thing and make the whole world peaceful. What you want to do is advance all of the pillars if you can. So take them one at a time and think about, what does this pillar mean to the Pond Gap Elementary School? And so well-functioning government, we're not talking about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and that kind of stuff. We're talking about an elementary school. What is a well-functioning government in an elementary school? What would it look like? And so the government might be the supervisory structure in the school, the principal and other people that that keep the wheels turning and that kind of stuff. But how would it look if it was a well-functioning government in an elementary school? And so you could come up with 10 things, but think of something like a place where challenges, we have lots of challenges in a school like that, a place where challenges turn into learning opportunities. And now you can say, okay, if that's what we're trying to do, what can we do when we're in the classroom to turn a challenge into a learning opportunity? And a lot of times you'll see challenges that seem like they're almost insurmountable. You know, there's a kid here who's trying to learn to read. He comes from a family where nobody knows how to read. You know, really, your influence is a good example, but you're maybe not going to move the needle if he goes home and speaks a different language. And I understand they got a lot of them at Pond Cap. So that's a real challenge. Okay, sound business environment is to the left. What's the business environment in a school? What would sound business environment look like? To me, the thing I think about is something like that might be, how does the school district deal with Pond Cap? That might be one view of what a business environment is like. But another one might be the PTA. You might think in terms of, do they have a PTA? A school with a lot of poor kids, most of their parents are working, and they maybe don't have time to come to PTA, and you don't have a PTA, and and because you don't have something like that, you're missing an important part of what makes a school work. And so sound business environment might be something like that. Low levels of corruption. What's that in a school? Well, maybe it's cheating. Do your kids learn to cheat because they want to be as good as the other kids, so they look at somebody else's paper, that kind of thing? Well, can you do something? If you're in a position to be able to coach people, little kids are really, really susceptible to coaching. So, you know, you really can help them with that sort of stuff. Acceptance of the rights of others. How do the kids play on the playground? Do they all play together? Do they break up into groups? That sort of thing. High levels of human capital. Human capital is about getting advancement so that you as a human are part of what makes society work. And so in a place like an elementary school, getting kids to grade level would be advancing human capital. That'd be a way to look at that. Okay, good relations with neighbors. Do kids help each other? Now remember, we talked about kids playing well together, and we talked about cheating and that sort of stuff. So good relations with neighbors, those all kind of tie together. Free flow of information. That might be information to the parents. Do the parents have books at home? Do the parents know that there's an imagination library and they might be able to get books at home? Would they know what to do with them? If you put the PTA and the free flow of information and the equitable distribution of resources, and you take those and you put them together, you might say, gosh, if we could do something with the parents that got them to think positively about this reading effort that we're doing, then maybe we could really turbocharge what we're doing and have a bigger impact. So that's the way the 8 pillars work. Seem like a lot of work? Well, I spent about 10 minutes on it there, right? It's really not that hard, but you don't want to do it by yourself, and you don't want to do it with 3 people in your committee. You want to involve some people in the school, and you want to talk about what this could do for you. Anyway, it doesn't necessarily mean that you do twice as much work. You know, but you could say that all of us who go, we're going to report back on something. You know, what we saw relative to some of this. And you'll get other people engaged and that sort of thing. So that's the way you can apply this to something that you're all doing already. And then you can say, wow, that was fun. Now let's apply it to something else, because you've got a lot of projects. Bruce sent me a list. You got a lot of stuff going on. So any of them could use this kind of thing, and you can have fun trying to just sit down sometime and spend half an hour and think about it. And I bet, since Bruce is standing up, that I'm I'm going to tell you one more thing. There is a little design tool, which is basically just a table to help you put your ideas in, right? So you don't have to scribble all over the 8 pillars. But there are things to help you and that sort of stuff. Give me a call and I'll be glad to help you. Okay? Thanks.
Jim, thanks so much for taking your time today on this rainy day driving from Chattanooga. So I know that was quite a commitment on your part.
On the way back.
Yes, maybe. I saw the clouds breaking a little earlier, so it is important. But I see a lot of those things you're already saying we're already involved in. They may not know that we were actually doing those things without seeing that. So speaking about Pine Gap, we donate a book to the Pine Gap Library in honor of our speaker each day. And today's book is Minecraft, Stone Sword Saga, Cracking the Code. So there's a place here for the speaker to sign, and also we have a token of our appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Tracy, for visiting again today. Hope to see you again. Let Joe keep on buying you lunches and everything. So, next week, our program is, I was going to help, Adrianetta Williams from the LMU. She's a law dean at LMU School of Law. So, should be a very, very interesting presentation as well. And April has a 4-way test.
Oh, boy.
And next week we have.
All right, the 4-way test are the things we think, say, or do. First.
Is it the truth?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?